Hey, welcome back to Electric Cafe. My name's Tim Humphrey. This is an album review on the newest Cure album, Songs of a Lost World. Um, really excited to get this in the mail yesterday and hear for the first time last night in full. As you big Cure fans may know, they debuted all these songs in a row, back to front, the whole entire album just a few days ago at a sort of more intimate concert. I think it was in the UK somewhere, but yeah, I got a chance to see that concert, but I just saw the second half. I didn't, or the last two thirds. I didn't watch the first hour because I wanted to save the first time that I've heard the album from the CD. I did get a chance to see them in concert last year, so I knew five of the eight songs already, but it's always different hearing it on the album, right? Hearing it in a row, hearing it on your nice home stereo, and for those that are kind of new to the channel in the past, since I started this channel a couple months ago, I've been doing reviews on albums from the first 25 years of my life, which is 1976 to 2000, 2001. And then I figured I'd do that for a couple years, and then once I get to the age of 50 in 2026, in April of 2026, then I'll start doing the last 25 years up to that point. So I figured in about a year and a half, year and a half, almost 2 years, I'd be caught up, to the point where I've pretty much done most of the albums that I'd like to review from my again my first 25 years, mostly in at least a while. I won't be fully finished with electronic music because that would be a lot. I have roughly probably 10 to 20,000, 10,000 CDs and 10,000 records, and it'd be a lot to. Even though there's definitely a lot of 12 inches dance records in there, there's still a lot of albums in there, and I think it'd be impossible to get all the ones up to 2000 done by 2026, but at least I'll have done maybe like all the new wave and maybe post punk and all the kind of music that I liked during those years when it was put out. Pretty much except for maybe like some 90s electronica. There'll be a lot of industrial in there and shoegaze and dream pop and indie rock and rock and all, maybe some dub and reggae in there as well, and who knows what else I'll do in there. My tastes are pretty varied, but for the most part, I'm more into electronic music. Anything that has a keyboard, sequencer, or beat machine, I'm a big fan of. To give you an example of that, I kind of like the Sex Pistols. I like PIL, so that's like that's a good example of me liking electronic music more than rock music. So yeah, this is a really important review for me, and I was really excited to hear this album. And I'm gonna look at my notes here, and then I like I normally do, I rate each song, and then I rate the overall of the album. I even got my Cure mug and my Cure wig for the occasion. Um, yeah, this album, it's 8 songs. It's fairly somber. Which I generally like the more moody Cure stuff. Like when I think about the overall the Cure, and they have so many different emotions and so many different styles of music that they do. I generally do like of those styles. I like the moodier stuff. So this album kind of aligns more with my taste than your more poppy stuff or even heavier stuff. Um, you know. Geez, where to begin? Um, as far as the good of the album, I really like the tracks Alone and End Song, which doesn't surprise me because I liked them from the beginning. They were always my favorite two songs of the five that I did hear before, and it doesn't surprise me that they're still the two best after I heard the album. I really like those songs a lot. They bookend the album really strongly, and in some ways I do kind of wish if there was a last Cure album, even though they said there's another album or two coming. For the longest time, I thought this was the last Cure album. I never heard him say that, Robert Smith say that, and then now that I heard him say that on a video recently, I did go back and check because I was like, I thought this was going to be the last album because it sounds like a last album, right? I mean, there's a lot of lost feeling in this entire album, and with the song saying end song at the end, it makes sense, you know. There was a time when I thought I think Robert Smith had said Wish was going to be their last album, and that song had a track called End that ended the album as well. Of the newer songs that I hadn't heard till I listened to the album yesterday, I really like War Song and All I Ever Am. And then I still really like I Can Never Say. Those are my five favorite of the 8 songs. Um, the production on the album has a really nice, good live feel. Um, Really deep bass. It almost sounds like you're listening to like the thump of a of right next to a kick drum, and you hear the reverberance of it. It's really strong. You can really like feel the the like the backwards motion of the kick drum. It almost sounds like so hazy in the higher range, not like interference, like radio interference, just but it is kind of a darker haze over the album. It's so much so that almost some sounds sound like they're out of phase. Um, and if you guys don't know what out of phase means, if it's just basically reversing your left and right. It's reversing the wavelength, and if it's a straight tone, then it would reverse it equally, like a wave. It would go the opposite way. And so when you do that to some instruments, it doesn't sound proper to ear, and so there's some frequencies that sort of resonate that kind of shimmer off and kind of almost sound in phase to the stereo spectrum. It's really cool. I really like that touch. Um, there is some kind of stereo fooling too, like it kind of like the appearance of certain stereo things is kind of is also really cool. Robert's vocal is really strong. It's like right there, you know, with the effects on his voice are really nice. They're not overly done, which is good. I really like the production on this album. I really, really like the production on the album. When I think that his singing too is really strong. Um, it's on par with like Blood Flowers, which I probably most compare this album to. Um, Somber, I call it somber mood swings. It kind of there's some parts that sound a little bit like wild mood swings, and instead there's not wild mood swings. It's just somber mood swings. So I did kind of just that popped into my head because I kind of got that feeling. A few songs kind of sound like a mix of 90s stuff, like a little bit of Wish, a little bit of Wild Mood Swings, a little bit more of Blood Flowers. Kind of sounds in that period, similar songwriting in Blood Flowers, I feel like. Um, Simon sounds strong on the bass, like normal. I think he's a really underrated. I mean, he's definitely got the style. He's got great style for a bass player. He's got the rock and roll look, and he's always been, one of my more favorite Cure members. Um, but I do like that some of his basses in the song have a little bit of different sounds, which is cool. It's not just the same bass throughout every song. There's ones where it takes a little bit more of a lead and it has a different effect on it, and that's kind of cool as well. Um, when I kind of going into the tracks, the first track alone is an amazing opener. I really really like Alone. Again, it's my favorite song. I have it 4 out of 5 stars. It's the first single on the album. The strings and the piano and the bass is almost really the only thing that sounds like the Cure in it. But I suppose the drumming could be, but that the first it doesn't really almost fully sound like the Cure until you. I mean, there's remnants of there, and then of course if the more you heard it, the more it sounds like the Cure. But there's almost a part at the beginning where it doesn't fully sound like the Cure for a second, but it's just a magical song. It's just for a second. It's just very minor, but I really like how the melodies kind of ring out. Where did it go? It's just I love the lyrics on it. You know what I mean? He's got that kind of empty feeling of feeling old, like I think we all kind of get to. I'm sure you'll get to it if you haven't felt it. I've been feeling a little bit of that lately. Almost pushing 50 years old. I've been feeling a little bit of that, and I think listening to The Cure in some respects makes me feel old. I've been a Cure fan for probably 42 years of my 48 years. Like I was a fan probably when I was 6 or 7. I got my first Cure album when I was 9. I bought my first Cure album when I was 10. So, just I saw my first Cure concert when I was 13. So like I've been the Cure is my favorite band. I won't beat around the bush. They are my favorite band. So, but I'm still very picky, and I think I still critique things probably. I think fairly, but sometimes they're just question marks like what's one for this one? Well, I'll go into that later. But I put somber mood swings. Like it kind of sounds like question mark. Does it sound like a little bit like wild mood swings? Just more somber. So sometimes my critique is just me thinking out loud, but me not really coming to that realization as a fact or a strong opinion. It's just kind of a thought of like, this almost doesn't sound like The Cure. This first couple of minutes of this of Alone, until his lyrics come on. It could sound like a different band, but just for a second. I mean, it was just. I'm looking at my notes, and these are from last night, so I can't 100% gather what I was meaning by it didn't sound like The Cure for a second, but the drumming. But I think it was more the strings because there's a lot of strings on this album, like especially the second track and Nothing Is Forever. Quite a few songs have really big strings, and they almost they definitely almost dominate the album more so than even guitar in some ways. But that's not a bad thing at all. It's just it's almost orchestra. I think that was the point I was making. Like when Alone starts, is it going to be a rock song or is it going to be an orchestral song? Like it's almost fighting itself in a good way that you don't really know which kind of song it's going to be. Like is it going to be more atmospheric? Is it going to be more rocking? And it just kind of stays in that range the whole time. I think that's what I was saying. That's what I meant by that comment. But again, Alone, 4 stars out of 5, just an excellent song. If you guys don't know my ratings, my album ratings, my song ratings, just look at the notes. I have a pretty in-depth album overview, ratings overview on how I do my ratings, so definitely look at those. The songs are pretty much 1 through 5, but I do have increments of a quarter stars in each. So some songs have quarters and half stars. Track number 2, I have 3 stars, and Nothing Is Forever. The piano and the strings are really nice. It did kind of sort of remind me of something from the Wish period, like something off maybe like Lost Wishes, like a B-side. Maybe not like a fully completed song in a way too, because it's kind of long drawn out when it kind of could be shorter. Like it sort of reminds me of Jupiter Crash a little bit, which is strange because I know Jupiter Crash is a little bit more carefree, kind of melancholy sound, and this one's fairly deep. But I did get that feeling from a few notes in the early part of the song. This one too, I almost felt like it's conflicting. Like, is it going to be a rock song or is it going to be an overly orchestra song? Of course, when Robert sings or his air guitar comes in, or then it kind of comes back into focus, and it's The Cure, of course. And that's kind of the great thing about him. Like I think I wrote that in the notes here. He's always the grounding part of The Cure. Like whatever kind of song they do, whatever kind of style they do, like Robert Smith is the thing that grounds them and makes them The Cure. And I think that's really cool. It's melancholy. It's a melancholy song, but it's a touch whimsical too. it is kind of the title of it, "Nothing Is Forever." It is kind of melancholy, of course, but it is kind of it does have, I feel like, a little bit of hope in it and a little bit more carefreeness than the rest of the album. Even though it is kind of a moody song, but it does have a little bit more like hope in it. I feel like, um, and that may be the there's I'll kind of get to the overall of the album in a moment, but because I really want to touch on that the most. But I am going to go through song by song here. But one thing I want to say about it, and "Nothing Is Forever," it seems like the only one that has a little hope in it, and that there is something after it. Because he's saying "Nothing Is Forever," so there is something after it. Where everything else is very, "I Can Never Say Goodbye," "End Song," "All I Ever Am." Like there's nothing after that, right? This is the only one that really has like um, something to look forward to, or something after it. Like "Nothing Is Forever," but there is something out there. Like it's really the only one that has hope in a strange way, A Fragile Thing, the second single off the album, which just came out last week, I believe, is actually my least favorite song on the album. I do like the drum recording, the drum recording on it. Just doesn't really kind of hit the moment of a Cure single, that's for sure. And I feel like it's kind of lost between these big songs. Like it may take, it's hard to fully accurately, and that's why I'm doing old reviews, because they're a lot easier to put in perspective, because I've listened to them for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is. So it's easier to rate as an overall album. In retrospect, everything's a little easier, right? But in this album, the songs are so moving and big and atmospheric, and I think a song like "Fragile Thing" gets a little lost in it through the first couple listens. So maybe that'll grow on me in time, but nothing really sticks out on it. Um, 2.5 stars. Unlike track number 4, "War Song," which was one of the newer ones that I heard, and it did kind of stick out for me. I really like the layered guitars. I really like the first 70 seconds, especially. Um, the distorted guitar isn't bad. It sounds like a song off Blood Flowers. At 3 minutes and 40 seconds, the air guitar tones are just amazing at the end. More of that, please. Like, I put that in a note. More of that, please. Like, this song should have gone on for another minute or so. I feel like if all the other ones are like 6 and 7 minutes, like, War Song should have gone on for like at least another minute or so, because I really like the last minute. I really like the instrumental of it, and I like the lyrics of it. It's probably the most grounded lyrics on it. The most obvious lyrics of probably any. I think a lot of the other songs are kind of dreamy in a vocal and lyrical way. They're kind of big picture, where I feel like War Song, he's not getting along with whoever he's talking about. It sounds like an old girl, or maybe it's no relationship's perfect. I'm sure maybe it's about his wife, or just being in general. He writes songs like that, about pain and fighting and stuff like that, and that's the War Song. So like, I do feel like this has the most straightforward lyrics of all the songs. Track number 5. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see the Robert Smith interview that came out. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, where he talked a lot about the new album and what he's been doing in the pandemic and stuff like that. And basically, "Drone / No Drone" was a song he titled that he went out on his patio in the back, and he saw a drone, and it just sat there for a while, and I assumed somebody was filming. Oh, that's Robert Smith's house. You know what I mean? So I wonder if you get arrested for that. Is that trespassing when a drone goes over your house and films it? If you could prove it, would that be trespassing? I would imagine it is. But then again, you don't really own the airspace. The government would be trespassing with satellite. So what's the limit? Is there like a FAA, like or is it FCC controls the airwaves. Does it have to be a certain amount of feet? But then cameras get better, so you don't necessarily have to be that close. But anyways, um, so drone no drone was kind of like he wrote that, when he saw that, and it really kind of upset him. Like he was like we most were. We were deep down in the pandemic, and I think for some people it was really depressing. For some people it was a nice break. It kind of really tested the pandemic. Really kind of tested your fortitude with I wouldn't say with entertaining yourself, but with being alone. Really with solitude and obviously some people went through more difficult times than others with family members passing away and not being able to say goodbye to them. Like that must have been the worst thing. Thankfully, I didn't have to go through any of that. But I did have some friends who lost family members, and like I'm sure we all have fathers and mothers and stuff like that, and aunts and uncles and grandpas and and distant relatives and things like that. It must have been really hard not to be able to say goodbye. And that was a big part of this album, even though these songs were written, from what I gather, from 2012 to like 2019. They were all written before the pandemic. I'm sure when he was putting the album together, it was, it became atmospherically even more so of I wouldn't say a gloomy album, but a more somber album and more introspective. And if you guys know, I'm sure he altered the lyrics too as he was going. It's from what I gather, like even though Robert Smith reads a lot and he does write poetry and write stuff and write songs, like from what I gather, when you hear old songs like him do The Forest before the lyrics were finalized, like he kind of ad libs based on the music. There's a lot of songs. In fact, I don't know what the balance is between songs he wrote and songs they did the music for, and then he sort of did the lyrics after. But from what I gather, most of it was they suss out the music and then he kind of brings up the lyrics after it or during it, and then starts writing. So I'm sure a lot of these songs were finalized and maybe even re-recorded and sort of fine-tuned the lyrics through the pandemic. So that could be a lot of why this album is somber. But he, for the most part, I wouldn't say he enjoyed his time alone, because he did have family members that pass away. But I think you do kind of have to be the type of person that can live. I mean, he had a wife, so he wasn't fully alone. But like I was fully alone. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I was fully alone. But I've always kind of been not really a loner, but I can listen to music like that. That's why I have this channel. I mean, I can always listen to music, and I have enough music in my room to last me probably 2 lifetimes or more, and not listen to everything more than 3 times, maybe even twice. So I don't mind being alone. So the pandemic didn't really, besides the outside and the worrying and the media and stuff like that. Sure, that kind of stuff scared you, but as far as like being alone and stuff like that was kind of that was kind of like a vacation for me, but not for everybody. So I get it. But Drone No Drone was kind of that's how the song title kind of came across, and it's my second least favorite song on the album. I have it 2 3/4 stars. Not a bad song at all. It does kind of win you over in the end. I really do like the last minute. I feel like it's similar to a Fragile Thing, probably even more so, because I do like it first. I do like it more than a Fragile Thing on the first couple listens through it. I do feel like it'll grow on you as well as that one will. Track number 6, I Can Never Say Goodbye. The music is really good in this one. It's sort of like Wish for Impossible Things in a way, from Wish. Yeah, in a way, it's not as well. I wouldn't say not as great as that, but it's just it may take years for this one to be that good. But Wish for Impossible Things was obviously a really underrated song, and When I think of the ballads on there, I don't think this one sounds like Trust or anything like that, but it kind of is in that kind of vein for me. The pianos and the strings are kind of the highlights. Again, another great song with strings in it. It does kind of sound like Bloodflowers, and I really like the guitar in it. 3 and 3/4 stars. Really strong song. Also, All I Ever Am, 3.5 stars. I really like the guitar at like 2 minutes and 40 seconds. It almost for just a second, it has a tone of a night like this. There was a tone on my guitar where it just kind of like changed chord, and I was like, that sounded like, it sounded like a night like this, and I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. Not that they meant to do that, but it just kind of, you always have those kind of, when you love a band, you always compare stuff to their old stuff, and you're like, ooh, does that sound like this? That kind of sounds like this? You know what I mean? So it's kind of nice to have those kind of moments. 3.5 stars for all I ever am, and then end song, just amazing ending. One thing I love about The Cure is the drumming, like Pearl Thompson, or I'm sorry, not Pearl Thompson. Yeah, it was Pearl. Blanking on the original drum member's name. Was it Pearl Thompson? Or was Pearl Thompson the guitar player that dressed as really flamboyant? Like I think he's. I think he's. I don't quote me, but I think he's changed to a girl now. But is it Pearl or? Anyways, Jason Cooper, the new drummer, and the old drummer. I love the way they use the toms. They're always kind of like rolling. Like when you think of like off Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, The Snake Pit, or If Only Tonight We Could Sleep. There's always this kind of like tribal drumming that the Cure have. It's not just rock music where it's boom, tsh, boom, tsh, or it's always do 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 do. And so I love the drums. Prayers for Rain's another good one that has that. Some of the coolest kind of like tribal kind of rhythms like that are very kind of Disintegration has that a little bit. I just love that kind of drumming. It's one of my favorite things about The Cure. It's one of the things I always kind of look for is those songs that it kind of has that kind of drumming. It's just something that is really kind of primal about it that I always really like. Man, it's even though I heard this song before, like I probably played the song 20, 30, 40 times, like since I heard it at the Cure concert last October. Like I was still fighting back the tears listening to this song. It is an emotional song. It's really emotional song. Like if you're a big Cure fan, there's certain songs that can put you close to tears, and I always think of, if you guys know the track "Sinking" off "Head on the Door," "One More Try," "1,000 Hours" off "Kiss Me, Kiss Me," "Last Summer" from Bloodflowers, "Trust" from Wish, "Same Deep Water as You" on Disintegration. I mean, those are some amazing tracks that are just emotionally, put me in such a state of mind. There's not too many bands that can do that. That can make me feel so emotional and so reflective that I literally like can tear up. But that's how much I love music. But End Song does that for me. Like I was literally like almost in tears. How beautiful it is with the air guitar. And if you guys really know The Cure, there's a song on Lost Wishes. They used it at the end, and it was so funny because I remember there was a picture show. Was a VHS at the time. It was a VHS of all their videos up to that point. It was called Picture Show. And at the very last, after they showed the credits, they debuted and sort of hinted at the next album or next song that was going to be released by The Cure, and it was one of the songs that turned out to be on Lost Wishes. and I'm blanking on the name, but it has a real kind of air guitar. It doesn't really do too much. I think it's kind of like 3 minutes because they didn't know it was so good, but they didn't really turn it into a full song. So they put it on. It might be the Berry one. Is it Cloudberry? Is that? Anyways, they didn't really turn it into a song. So it's at the end of the video, and I used to replay that all the time. I was like, and that air guitar is almost exactly, well, I wouldn't say exactly, but it's really like the air guitar in End Song. And so I've always loved that certain tone of his air guitar. Like a lot of times, Robert Smith is kind of reserved in his guitar playing, until he kind of does a big solo, which is kind of occasional, but he kind of stays in that kind of atmospheric realm and doesn't kind of overdo it, right? But like on End Song, if you've heard it, just that guitar sound is that air guitar where it's a little bit more pronounced. Just amazing. I think Fascination Street sort of has that too. Just amazing sound. Amazing sound. Wow. 5 stars for that song. Perfect song. I think it's the perfect song to end the album. In a way, I almost kind of wish like this was the last Cure albums. I'm excited to look forward to more, but this song was amazing. And what a way to go out if it was to go out. Last couple things about the album. The ratings of the album. They add up to a 28.25 stars. Divided by 8 songs is a 3.53. So yeah, I give the album an overall of 82 out of 100, which is really strong on my score. It's verging on classic. I probably put it somewhere around 5, 6, or 7 favorite Cure albums, somewhere in there. I'm always like, rating my favorite Cure albums, and I think, obviously the top 5 would probably be Disintegration, Pornography. I'm a big Faith fan and a big Kiss Me fan. Probably 5th would be Head on the Door, just because it's a personal favorite. I'm not a huge Wish fan. Wish fan's probably 8 or 9. Do I think Wish is better than this album? Probably a little bit, because there's more than 8 songs. But it's somewhere in there, in the Blood Flowers / 17 Seconds, Wish kind of realm in there, kind of in between like 6 and 9, but it's still at 82. I rated Head on the Door a 78, so I did rate this better than the Head on the Door, but this is my rating right now. It could change over the years, could it last as long as 39 years old, like Head on the Door, still stay at 82? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm just a little swayed by it because it's a new Cure album and it's really powerful, and it is probably the rating of it is the star averages that I give for songs is probably a little skewed because I have a song that's 4 stars and one that's 5 stars, and there's only 8 songs on the album. So, maybe I could see rating this to 78, 78 to 82, and anywhere in there would probably, from a very good album to excellent, it's kind of right in that range on my score. Is it an all-time great? No. Do I think they can ever do an all-time great? I don't think so. The Cure write differently than they do now. They write. Robert Smith is more rock than he used to be, and he's a better songwriter than he was. But there's something that's missing when it comes to the Cure for me, and it's this guy right here. I get it. Lowell Thompson, my second favorite member of the Cure. Robert Smith's my favorite member, and that poster over there is Lowell. He signed that for me. Lowell was so important for the Cure. He was that second member that Robert Smith bounced things off of. Just remember, Lowell played keyboard. He played drums. He played other odd instruments. I want to say he knew how to play bass or guitar as well, but he didn't because obviously they already had him. And they needed a drummer and a keyboard player. But in the studio, Lowell was that person that kind of experimented with stuff, and there's a little bit of, this album is very Robert Smith. Um, the 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 quirky songs, the fun songs, the great B sides, the not only kind of went away with the youth of the Cure, but a lot of it was the help that Lowell gave. Um, Lowell was really. I don't think people understand the impact that Lowell had on the group songs. There was nobody that was. Yeah, Robert Smith chose the direction of them, but Lowell was there to support it, and he was creative and unique enough, and playful enough, and experienced enough, probably even more so than Robert Smith when it came to being a musician, playing multiple instruments and stuff like that, and to be that kind of second person for Robert Smith, and really kind of uh, I think kind of inspire him to do different songs. And he was there to kind of like, okay, Robert Smith has the direction, and Lowell kind of ran with the ideas, and then Robert would kind of, what I imagine, he would kind of finish it up. Lowell is super talented. Um, Roger O'Donnell is a great keyboard player. He's almost too perfect. Um, I miss Lowell. I miss Lowell a lot in the band, especially as the years go on. Um, the other thing I'll say about the album, well, the two last things. Um, what style do you like about the Cure's songs? What are your favorite styles? Right? They can do everything, right? They can do the heavy sound, like the Kiss or Disintegration, right? Or Torture or Want, or they can do the heavy songs, right? They can do the kick-ass songs, right? They can do the beautiful songs. They can do the gloomy. They can do the happy songs. They can do the quirky songs. They can kind of do some dance songs, right? This album doesn't have any of those, except for really gloomy, and it's really not gloomy. It's kind of somber, and beautiful and somber. But this doesn't have any kick-ass moments. It doesn't have any overly happy moments. It doesn't have any dancing moments. No quirky moments. No strange B-sides or odd, unique songs like Kyoto Song or Wendy Time, or just kind of odd songs that they're put on the album, and you're kind of like, but it's different, right? It's the Cure. That's what makes the Cure great, and that's what this album is missing, unfortunately, and that's the obvious part of it, right? It's missing certain sides of the Cure, and that's okay because this is my favorite. But if you're a semi fan on the Cure and you just like Heaven and Friday I'm in Love and stuff like that, you're not gonna listen to this album. you're not gonna be like, oh, have you heard the new Cure album? And you're playing it to your girlfriends or your friends at work. These aren't the type of songs where you're gonna hear them on the radio. These aren't the type of songs where you're gonna get a quick enjoyment out of them. Like this is kind of a deeper album. And then the last thing I'll say about the album in its whole, when you think of the title, right? Um, you think of the title, right? So the songs, right? I can't really see it on the back here. Okay, so Alone, right? Here's the CD right here. Um, Let me look at my notes here. Robert is very reflective in this album, and he's very honest about growing old. The album's not depressing at all, but he is lost. And these are the songs of the lost world. So, Alone, right? He lost time, right? Where did it all go? Where did all the time go? Right? Nothing is forever. He lost something precious. Another thing he lost, right? A fragile thing. He lost something monetary, maybe something physical, maybe something that he owned, something tangible. A fragile thing lost, it broke, right? Then you have War Song, right? What do you do in the wars? You win or lose them, right? You lost the war. You lost the fight. You lost the argument with his girlfriend, right? No drone, no drone. Lost the innocence. Lost his aloneness, right? His solitude. His what was, he was I wouldn't say he was invaded, but he was what do you call it? He was interrupted. He lost his alone time. He lost his freedom in a way because it was something out of his something that was technical, mechanical, that interrupted his space time, his free time. So in a way, he kind of lost the innocence of that, right? I can never say goodbye. He lost his brother. What can you say about that, right? All I ever am. He lost his youth. This is all he'll ever be. He lost the opportunity to do more. And then you have End Song, right? Ultimately, like the imagery with the planet in the video, it's a lost world, and that's the name of the album, Songs of a Lost World. So on every song, it's something he lost, and so I really kind of was thinking about that, the Songs of a Lost World, and then you kind of look at the titles, and everything seems to be something that he lost, and so it is. So it's very somber. It's a but it's not a heavy listen. I won't say it's depressing. There is hope there, and that's what I do ultimately appreciate. But I don't mind depressing albums at all. Especially by The Cure. Like, I think of like the songs like Faith and Pornography, and even A Forest is kind of a little depressing in a way, but not because the beat's faster, but you get what I mean. There's a I don't mind the depressing side of The Cure, and that's a stretch. I don't mean to say it's depressing, but you know what I mean. The more somber stuff, and even though this is a fairly somber album, this doesn't feel depressing at all. But it feels like a missed opportunity, and that's where I feel like that he really came through with what he was aiming for in this album, because you feel like there's an opportunity lost. Maybe there's an opportunity lost in putting another couple songs on here, so it would have balanced out and made it happier. But being lost isn't necessarily a good thing. So I get it. You know what I mean? You're not gonna write happy songs about being lost. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on The Cure. I really enjoyed the album. I rated it 82 out of 100. I can see it anywhere in between like 78 to 82, somewhere in the very good range to excellent range. Um, I'm just really wowed by Alone and End Song again. I think they're some of the most powerful beginning and ending songs that The Cure have ever done. I think of like Underneath the Stars or Plain Song or Kiss Me. Like, The Cure have had some amazing opening tracks in their albums, and Alone is got to be up there. And then for the ending tracks, I can't think of really one that's better than End Song. I certainly like Untitled on Disintegration for what it is. I love Sinking on Head on the Door. Um, there's some strong ending songs, but maybe not one as powerful as this one. Just an epic song and an epic opener. And there's some good stuff in the middle, and I'm glad to feel like there's some opportunity for the album to grow with a couple songs. But it is 8 songs, and I do feel like there's a missed opportunity with it's pushing 50 minutes, not a short album, but I think we deserved, or not really deserved, but it would have been nice to have one more song on there. I think pushing 55, 60 minutes, closer to 9 songs would have been nice. But that's the thing about The Cure, is when they feel like writing a song, they write a lot of material, and this probably changed from a double album to now a triple album, and he's trying to put them together the best way that he thinks is possible. And so we have to, of course, trust his judgment. I'm sure he's right, and I'm sure the next album will be a lot different, and in some ways, and maybe it'll be more towards the other style of their writing, and maybe the third album will be another style of writing that they have. Me personally, I just would hope for a little bit more, some, wouldn't say creativeness in it, but or difference. But I missed the kind of quirky songs of the Cure. Like the quirky B sides of the early '80s and middle '80s. I love those tracks. They're so simple and so carefree and stuff like that. And not everything's overly produced. Even though I tend to like more overproduced stuff than underproduced stuff for sure. But man, it's really hard to compare anything to the old Cure. And I feel like I'm not sure if Robert Smith can fully write songs like how he used to. He's a lot better songwriter now, and a lot better, you know, just musicmanship and everything. He's just better at writing songs, and I don't think he could write any kind of like quirky, kind of short, kind of carefree kind of songs like he did on "Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me." There's some songs on there that are kind of quirky and simple and cool. Like "Icing Sugar," or "Thousand Hours." Some great kind of quirky songs. But yeah, that's, man. What can I say though? I'm really happy to hear a new Cure album, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Hopefully, I'm sorry it was a little long. Um, curious if you have curious on the Cure. If you have a favorite top three songs on this album, and what would you rate this album? All right, thanks so much for listening or watching.